Hello, my name is Chris Cruz, and this is my video journal for why communication is important. So, from what I've explored through this chapter, is that we connect through tons of ways, but communication is something that we are dependent on. And depending on how strong you are communicating with other people, it can determine your everyday life, your relationships, and also just yourself and your well-being. Um, Communication isn't always just words. It's also body language. It's also how we interpret things. Even being quiet can be sending off messages to people, whether that's rude or being polite. Communication is something that we have to be verbal about. Because if not, then we really can't function as people. Something that I took away from this chapter that I saw really interesting is that being in a prison, sometimes prisoners are put into solitary confinement. And to some people, that sounds not bad. You're just put in a room by yourself. But when you're put in a room by yourself for days and not talking to people, it starts to mess with you, mentally, and a little bit of physically. You start going kind of paranoid and you start feeling as if you're no longer yourself. That's why sometimes people who are put in long-term solitary confinement, they don't come out the same person. They come out as completely more aggressive and more, I guess, more of a animal, if you could say that. They don't really come out as themselves. So that's a way that communication is so dependent on us that taking away that communication or interacting with people can make us go insane. So, and that's what connects mental health and ourselves, is that being unwell can also be the fact that you're unable to communicate your feelings or your emotions to other people who are professionals. But in general, communication is something that we need to be consistent with. And it's not just in everyday life. We use it every day, yes, but in a workplace, obviously communication is something that is always brought up in a workplace. I myself work in food service, and also I work in construction. More specifically, I work in commercial plumbing, and communication is something that is super important in both jobs. And we need to communicate with each other, give each other feedback, give each other clarity about a situation. So that's what I took away from this chapter. And my question, I think I wrote down here, my question is, in terms of how we are needed to be understood, when does it get to a point when using only emojis or short-term words, how would that ever truly help find our identities? But also, how would that really make us understand ourselves and others to how we want to be perceived?